Hey guys, Brent here with BYOTools, aka BYOT. Thank you for joining me, and today we're going to be demoing, prepping, and installing tile on vertical surface. Let's get started.
And as you can see, this is one depressing looking bathroom. Yeah, dear goodness, this needs an overhaul real quick. Now before we get started, let's talk about materials. First off, safety checks such as knee pads, eye protection, ear protection, and gloves. Vibrating multi-tool with scraper and cutting tools. A drill. Some type of wet saw tile cutter, thin set, 1/8 inch tile spacers, tape measure and pencil, painter's tape, a mixer attachment, a level or levels, some silicone, metal snips and hacksaw, metal tile edging trim, buckets with sponges, grout float and notch trowel, grout and grout cleaner, and of course some tile. Now we're not here quite yet, we have to do some demo. Let's get started. Now this is a public restroom, which is why there's so many things on the walls, but I do have to remove all these items because I have to remove the wall paneling before installing the actual tile. Man, this handrail, I hate this handrail, and you will know why later. You do want to remember the fact that you have to reinstall all these items after the tile is installed, so making sure you keep track of all the screws is necessary. I like to tape the screws directly to the product itself, that way you don't lose it. Unfortunately for this project, I have to deal with FRP, and FRP is great if you want a easily cleanable surface, but it's horrible if you are trying to remove it because look at that drywall, it is destroyed. Now most likely they use some type of contact adhesive when installing this FRP, which is why it's destroying this drywall, but we will be salvaging this. Yes, salvaging it, because I don't want to replace it, unless you want to. I had to keep this bathroom functional while doing this renovation, which is why I'm actually cutting around this FRP and leaving the sink and the toilet in place, and then we'll be tiling around it. Now to salvage this drywall, we have to first remove all the loose pieces that are on the drywall itself. Now we don't have to get off every single little bit, because if we did, we'd be here forever, but we do have to get the big chunks because we have to make sure that the tile has a good surface to adhere to. I picked up some mold killing primer along with some paint supplies at the store and went to town on these walls. Yeah, just destroyed them. I guess I shouldn't say destroy, I should say cover. Yes, cover. Covered the crap out of them. I didn't specifically have a bad issue with any type of mold in this bathroom, but I might as well play it safe because of the fact there is moisture in bathrooms, and might as well spend a few extra bucks on a better quality primer. I did find this nice fatty hole right underneath the toilet, which was just covered up by the wall paneling. Well, I just took a measurement, put a piece of 2x4 in there for backing, screwed it into the drywall itself, then just cut a piece of cement board and screwed it into place. Doesn't have to be pretty, it is going behind tile. Now just like any good wall tiling project, you need to make sure everything's level. I'm placing a couple of the floor tiles on top of each other, then placing the tile on top of that, and leveling it out, making sure that that space is all the way across the room. Once I have my markings, I then take my level and string it across the room, making a mark and making sure I know exactly where level is all the way across the room. One piece of equipment that is extremely important to have is a wet saw tile cutter when doing any type of tile project. This will make your life a lot easier. Once the tile cutter is ready to go ahead and mix up your thin set. I always try and pour some water into the bucket first and then pour the actual thin set into the bucket, because that way you don't get any massive lumps at the bottom of your bucket, because who likes lumps? Ugh. Use your drill and a mixer attachment and it makes life a lot easier. Just make sure it is fully mixed in thoroughly. You should be taking at least 5 minutes to be fully mixed in. It should be the consistency of peanut butter. Once the paint is fully dried and the thin set is ready to go, it is time to start troweling. I am using a 1/4 inch square trowel to trowel on the thin set. Just make sure you have nice consistent thin set peaks along the back side of the tile. Check for levelness, and once you're ready to cut, go ahead and take your tape measure, mark the points in which you need to cut each piece, take your straight edge, cross, and run it through the tile cutter. Oh, if only all of our cuts were nice straight cuts. You will know why I say this later. As you can see, you can just spread the thin set onto the wall itself, but I decided on this project not to do so because of the fact that I want to avoid making a large mess, and I feel applying the thin set to the tile itself is much easier. Now within this video I'll be showing you how to do multiple types of cuts. This type of cut Not that hard, but definitely more difficult than a straight shot. Again, use a tape measure, a pencil, and a straight edge to lay out the actual cut itself. I prefer using a pencil over a pen because a pencil can easily be washed off. Just FYI. Now when running this through your tile cutter, you want to cut all the way to the joint, then back it off and actually raise it up because you want to make sure you get a nice flush edge on both sides. Once both sides are cut, you can then do a plunge cut into the center of the tile, which will allow you to cut the center piece without actually having to cut the whole tile itself. That will allow it to be in one fluid piece, and you can do a little cleanup at the end there too. Also, you can then install it, and look at that, nice and perfect, and making sure it's level. As you continue to tile, just make sure you're placing your spacers on the bottom as well as on the sides of the tiles itself. That way you know you have equal spacing throughout the walls. I mean, come on, in my opinion, nothing's more awkward than having an unevenly spaced grout joint. Am I right? Yeah. Maybe a bad boob job or something, but in any case, it's up there. For our top cap, all we have to do is grab our tape measure and measure from wall to wall, then take our metal top cap and mark it, and then take snips and a hacksaw and cut it into place. Once it's ready to be installed, I run a bead of silicone along the back side of the top cap. That way I'm able to adhere it to the wall without having to screw it into place. Now once silicone dries, it dries as hard as this thin set, but it is also flexible so you don't have to worry about it breaking anytime. Oh, by the way, you know the old saying, size doesn't matter? Well, in this case it actually really doesn't, because the fact that this bathroom took me forever because there's so many cuts in this small little room. Come on. I mean, come on, look at this. Every single piece is a cut. And I even have an underneath area. Yes, underneath. Well, not too bad since all I have to do is put a little brace in there and we're good. Oh, the dreaded outlet cut. Yes, not so much fun. With this piece, you always want to make sure you have very accurate measurements, so making sure you account for spacing is key. Once you have your outlet taken care of, you are ready to do a number of plunge cuts. Now, this type of cut, you have quite a few plunge cuts because that's all you can do at this point, because you don't want to make an unnecessary edge on your tile. Now once you're done with the plunge cuts on the front side, you want to actually flip it over and do the exact same thing on the back side. That way you know the cuts are going all the way through the tile itself, and it's easier to knock out the pieces. You can do a quick little cross cut too if you'd like. Makes it a little bit easier to knock out all these pieces. Once you make all of your cuts, you should be able to tap out all these pieces easily. Then go ahead and install the tile and see how good your cut actually is. Just make sure and remember that you do have to screw this light switch into the box itself at a certain point. When you're making so many cuts, it does feel good when you're actually placing a full piece. Is that kind of weird? Not really. And lo and behold, we have another cut piece. Yes, right there. What are we going to do there? I'll show you. Measure out like you would any other cut piece. Place the tile on the table and just veer up into the table saw. That way you're able to get a nice flush cut, and then you're able to just completely tap out the notch. Then you're easily able to slip this tile into position, except for the fact that this tile had issues with levelness. Well, what do? We take a piece of cardboard, fold it a couple times, and place it there. If it needs to be higher, just fold it once more and place it in position. And there you go. Look at that. Nice and simple. And because I'm working with an existing sink, I have some oddly shaped tiles I have to cut. Now what do? I use tape. Now why I'm using tape? Because I can take this tape and place it onto the tile. That way I know exactly the shape I need for the piece that I have to cut. Yeah, pretty genius, I know. In any case, go ahead and place the tile on the tile cutter and cut the straight cuts that you can first, and then go back and cut the more difficult pieces. Now you may have to place the tile in odd positions to get some of these cuts, but it is necessary to actually get this into one full piece. Then go ahead and place it in position and see if it fits. Yeah, look at that. Nice and tight. Just the way I like it. In all reality, this is a very simplistic way to get very accurate measurements, which is perfect for me. Just make sure you're accounting for spacing, because the last thing you want to do is recut these pieces. Yeah, this is definitely an area where you want to use the adage, measure twice, cut once. Continue the installation process, and just remember that keeping the spacing accurate and keeping it level will help you in the long run. It might be a little bit tedious along the way, but it makes things a lot easier. Once all of the tiles installed, I recommend letting the tile sit for 24 hours to harden. Once the tile is hardened, you can come back and clean up all of the spacers along with this skin that is on this tile. Now sometimes the skin is nice and easy to take off, but on this tile it is like trying to take off a cobweb when it is on your face. Yeah, not easy. Once clean, you are ready for your grout, and I am using Quartz Lock Rapid Cure Grout, which is a great grout because of the fact that it has a built-in sealer and you don't have to add any water to it. It is already there, and all you have to do is mix it up and you are ready to install. I'm using a rubberized grout float to install this grout into the grout joints. Now, as you can imagine, it's not the easiest thing to do on a vertical surface, which is why you're always going to create a bit of a mess while doing this, but I strongly recommend putting some type of visqueen protection on the floor, even if the floor isn't much, because it's nice and quick and easy pickup afterwards. I use a 2-bucket and sponge system where I'm wiping off the vast majority with the first bucket, and then on my final pass I use the cleaner bucket of the two. Also, I did use that cleaner that I showed at the beginning of the video. It did help out quite a bit when trying to remove that last little bit of grit and grime and haze off of these tiles. Also, as a side note, please make sure that you read the directions on this thing, because the fact that when it says rapid cure, it means rapid cure. This stuff cures within 5 minutes, and once it's hardened, it is very difficult to get off, so make sure you clean this extremely quickly right after you apply the grout. And after a lot of hard work, you are looking at one beautiful, sexy beast of a bathroom. Man, oh man, that is one magnificent difference between the before and after. And look at those edges. Oh yeah, look at that corner shot. I mean, come on, that is a nice cut. Very nice.
And there you have it, episode number 14 of BYOT done, good to go. Hopefully you guys learned quite a bit about tiling a vertical surface, because there's a lot of information in that one, which is why I broke this into 2 parts. The next BYOT number 15, will be all about laying the tile floor. Till then, please like this video, please subscribe to this channel, and please let me know what you'd like me to do in my next video. I might do it. In any case, thank you for your time, and catch you next time.
Son of a bitch railing is not coming off, and it is a pain in the ass. I will just take my hacksaw and cut it. Yes, cut it. Right, this is a good idea? No? Wait, or are you telling me no? Oh, shit.
Fucker. Son of a bitch.
Oh, the beauty of construction. Luckily I did not need stitches, but I did take off 5 layers of skin. Yeah, not so nice. But I did make it this nice little band-aid. Yeah, look at that guy.